We are delighted to be part of ASBDC's lineup for AI Day 2026. I'm Hope Hartman, the Executive Director of the Colorado SBDC serving Larimer County, located in northern Colorado. I've been part of the network for 4.5 years. I'm going to have each panelist introduce themselves by name, center, and how long they've been with the SBDC. We'll start with Carlos and then hand it over to Chelsea.
All right, thank you, Hope. Thank you for having us. And my name is Carlos Machuca. I'm the director of the Alaska AI Research Program, and I'm also a business advisor for the Alaska SBDC. I have been with the SBDC for about 4.5 years also. And my work focuses primarily right now in helping advisors and small business use AI in practical, responsible manners. And I also create some of the AI tools for our center here in Alaska.
Fantastic. Thank you, Carlos. Chelsea.
Thank you, Hope. I am Chelsea Blair, Business Advisor from the Penn State SBDC out of the Pennsylvania SBDC Network. I have been with the SBDC now for about 4 years. I work as a general business advisor as well as one of the AI specialists within our network.
Fantastic. I'm so delighted we could all be here together and representing across the country. We really want to set the stage for this discussion. So I will serve as the moderator, but I'm also going to have my hat on as a panelist alongside Carlos and Chelsea. And we want to frame this around the value the SBDC advisors bring to the table, where AI is helpful. We want to share real practical client stories. And I've grouped some of our questions into categories. But I'm going to kick this off. Carlos, I'm going to start with you. What is the biggest way AI has changed how you advise clients while still making your judgment and experience essential?
Yes, thanks, Hope. That's a great question. So the way AI has helped me, and also I have noticed the other advisors that we have, is the way that we can move faster with some of those clients. We can do market research faster, of course, and we can model and we can brainstorm ideas faster. We can also extract AI as financial assumptions that the client might be making. All of those things that used to take a lot of time for us to do before, now we can do it a little bit faster. So that means that for the judgment part of it, now we can understand the clients and we can work with the clients and the real issues that they're having with their businesses, the real constraints, the local market context that is very valuable for SBDC's advisors of every center here in the United States, and understand a little bit better what AI is assuming and what AI is not assuming, and how we bring our context to the conversation. By speed, extraction of data, that's one of the best things that you can do with AI very quickly.
Agreed. Chelsea, how has AI changed the way you advise?
I'm going to replicate exactly what Carlos said from efficiency purposes. So definitely when it comes to client preparation meetings, being able to understand their industry as a general business consultant, it's one of those things that we touch on a lot of different industries. So utilizing AI from understanding the brief synopsis of what that industry brings to the table, potentially what their business is really all about, is great to have. At the same time, it is really bringing us from an efficiency standpoint on the advisor side of things with document creation or document assistance, helping us be able to put the formal documents together in a nice package for the clients, as well as what it has brought is a little bit more of the cautionary tales of being able to be a lot more realistic, technical when it comes to what clients deliver back to us, and being able to read the documents and actually questioning our clients in their creation and their process side of things. So although it has brought a lot of efficiency and purposes to the way that we are in behind the scenes, it also has helped me change my mindset to be a little bit more careful in reviewing and being more realistic in the process of document creation from the client side of things to us.
No, I appreciate what both of you said, and I would echo common sentiments. Even just yesterday, I was talking with one of our bookkeeping specialists, and she indicated how she knows books. She can help people, whether they're getting started or clean things up, but that it's really hard knowing all these different industries for the people that we serve. And that's something that she's really looking forward to using it more for industry insights. I'm hearing common sentiments with market research, feeling a little more informed walking in, especially those brand new clients. We serve so many different types of businesses. And then when you were talking about the documentation, what I'm really noticing too is just having a lot more consistency with the final product, so to speak, whether it's tools coming from our center. I love that application though too, with helping the clients with their own documentation. There are so many things we can talk about. We're going to keep moving along. And Chelsea, this time I'm going to start with you. And so when a new client comes to you, what's your rule of thumb for deciding when AI belongs in the conversation and when it doesn't?
Believe it or not, I start right off the bat in the first initial meeting with them in what is their level of comfortability with AI. And if they are very comfortable with AI, have already started to utilize it on the daily, they want to utilize it in the business, I jump right into going from an educational level to training levels and that kind of stuff. If they are not quite comfortable, they're not quite there yet, they are leery of AI, I won't push it to the max with them or anything. What I will do though is I will talk to them along the way on how I am incorporating AI in my process with them, as well as planting some seeds along the way of, hey, in your industry, you can actually use AI for this way, or you can use AI for that way. So it really is about the level of comfortability that they are willing to take on.
I talked to advisors yesterday at my center. I was talking to someone about how do we know which of our clients are using AI if we are not actively asking them? And it was almost one of those eureka moments. Perhaps every session we should be asking, are you using AI? Nothing heavy handed, just curiosity, right? And Carlos, I feel like you know this too. It's very hard for us to gauge if we're helping people or we're improving, move the dial, if we're not even figuring out our own baseline of where they're at. And I think I've even changed my perspective on this because maybe 6 months ago, if there was a client that was overwhelmed, especially if they express overwhelm with technology, and I used to work in the software industry and I get excited about new technology, and that's why I'm so obsessed with AI. But I might have been a little more prone to keep that in my back pocket, maybe later bring it up. And if they're overwhelmed, even present it as this could lighten your load. Actually, this tool could help lighten the load for you, right? But I think it's okay to open it up early. So Chelsea, I appreciate that. And Carlos, I don't know if you wanted to add anything
Well,
on.
yeah, no, all great points, and that's exactly what we do here. And one of the things that I have put it into my advising workflow to ask them if they're using AI or if they're aware of how AI can help their business. One of the things when I see somebody who is very new with AI, first of all, I explain the capabilities of AI, the things that they can do with artificial intelligence using the context of their business. The other thing that I talk to them a little bit about the risk, because everybody will ask you, yeah, I'm afraid of AI or whatever, but I will explain to them, there's can be risk on AI only if you do this and that, but besides that, it's going to be very safe. And again, one of the things that I do is in their context of their business, I say, okay, let's talk about one process that you do. Let's say for marketing or for this or for that. Let me show you or let me explain how you can use AI to make that a little bit easier. Once you give that context demo, which I call it, then they're like, oh, really? I can do that with AI. I go, yes, and it can save you a lot of time. So those little things like that, especially for the new people using AI, is gold for them.
Yes, those mini demos are so powerful. So I don't think I mentioned this earlier. I serve as a trainer at our center, and I really appreciate those moments where people are like, oh, it's right. That just happened in seconds. So, Carlos, tell us about a time when AI gave you a good starting point, but your expertise or your local knowledge turned it into something that actually worked even better for the client.
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, market research is a big one. You get a good starting point, you start researching a business for a client. You mentioned earlier, we work with so many industries. Every client comes to us with a different industry. It's almost impossible for us to know every single one of those industries. So AI used in market research to understand a little bit of that specific industry if you're not very aware of it. It gives a great starting point. I was like, okay, I understand this is the flow, this is the processes, et cetera, et cetera. But then where AI falls a little bit short, I guess I would say, is in the local context. The local knowledge that we have as Alaska. And Alaska is very different because of the logistics, the weather, the seasonality, all of that stuff. That is something that we bring to the client, to the table as advisors, that AI is going to take a long time, maybe never, to be able to understand the dynamics of our state.
You remind me, and I was thinking about this last week and this week, where we know there's some great output from AI because it's looking at all the patterns. It has so much data to refer to. But what's missing is the stories. And that's what the advisors that experience the real world stories, and how some of what we're trying to pass on, we want it to stick. And so it can't be too general. It needs to really, we're helping address that pain point for the client to help them keep moving forward. So speaking about the advantages of being an advisor, Chelsea, I was wondering, what do you say to a client who thinks AI means that they no longer need an advisor? I think that you actually had a very specific example occur recently.
Yeah, so when it comes to individuals who think that they no longer need an advisor, I've had a couple of my clients say, hey, AI is doing really great work and that kind of stuff. I want to be able to take it on my own. I actually try to have a conversation to try to understand where they are coming from. And I had one client who said, yep, I'll come to next meeting, and started to not show and not show. And we were getting close to the point of where we were developing the business plan in itself. After we've done customer discovery, competitor analysis, all the other fun stuff that comes with going into the business plan. And what was interesting is a couple of months later, the client came back and he's, hey, I couldn't get a loan. And I inquired what happened. And they said, I utilized AI to create a business plan for me based upon all the work that we've done. And a lot of the lenders around here did not accept the business plan and had recommended that I work with the SBDC for assistance and guidance. And some of the key aspects that were really missing as part of that plan was, number one, I think as all of us as consultants, we've seen an AI business plan, and it's really a lot of fluff and not a lot of factual information within it. Even though they had the information, it was really one of those things that they didn't know how to properly plug it into AI. And then not only that, the lenders are very familiar with the AI business plan format, which we all pretty much know isn't really a business plan format in the first place anyway. And so what we did is we took that step back and I outlined all of that with them. And then they understood, oh, I do still need an advisor because they have this insight. And not only that, we were able to formally create the industry profile for them because the paid resources that we have, that AI does not have access to. And so I would not hesitate as an advisor standpoint to question along the way, hey, if you're really thinking that AI can help you out, that's really great. Let's talk through the logistics of how AI is going to help you.
Yes. When you bring up the business plan, so we saw this pattern. I think this happened about 6 months ago. I was getting increasing feedback from about 30 advisors here just at my center alone in Northern Colorado. And suddenly clients were asking advisors to review their business plans, clearly had been AI generated, and they were 100 pages plus. And so proud that and I was like, oh my goodness, no. And they were very repetitive too. A lot of the same information. And that scenario you just pointed to, it's so obvious if somebody does go into a bank or even sits down with the advisor and you say, okay, so tell me a little bit more about the market and the client you're trying to reach. Do you have a primary market? Any kind of detail. If they've done the research, which you think they would want to know, they can answer the questions. If AI did it, they lack that insight. They're cutting themselves short. So anyways, I could go on and on. Carlos, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Well, yeah, like you guys mentioned, the assumptions that artificial intelligence that's the key. If you tell the client, can you map the assumptions that were made in your business plan, those things that AI assumes a specific area, those are the things that will kill a loan anytime. Because the lenders know the data of the state or the city or whatever. Now, we just like Chelsea said, we use amazing resources to back artificial intelligence, our IBIS World Report, Vertical IQ. We also use Profit Sense. All of those resources that we have, that we use in conjunction with artificial intelligence, are pretty much to get rid of some of those assumptions, because guess what? The lenders in my city are using the same resources that we're using. They're using IBIS World, they're using Profit Sense. So when AI just makes up information on those business plans based on a coffee shop, maybe in New York City, the lenders here in town will know, and they will say, okay, go to the SBDC. I'm giving you an example that's real. It happens all the time here.
Yes. I think all of us know advantages, whether it's wearing our advisor hat, whether it's for client use cases we've seen. But I think we've all also seen AI go wrong, or maybe fall short, or maybe some common mistakes that you might even see clients relying too much on AI. And I'm just curious if you, either of you or both of you, would share your experiences of AI going wrong or falling short, or a common mistake you're seeing.
Yeah, I can start if you want
Sure.
to. It's a combination of the user using the output coming from artificial intelligence as a validation, as the final output. I always tell my clients, I always tell my advisors, every output that comes out of AI is a draft, okay? Is a starting
Yes.
point and it's a draft, okay? Treat it as a draft, always review the information, and I always tell them, and I will keep repeating this, be aware of assumptions. Assumptions are your friends, and assumptions are your enemy. They're your friends because they speed up the process, but they're your enemy because it's just like a holding place for you to verify and to get the right information in.
Yes. Chelsea, what about you?
I know that from my side of things, definitely what Carlos had mentioned, the hallucinations of what AI brings to the table really boasts the client's ego in thinking, oh, yes, this is a valid business idea. This is a valid way to move forward. What a lot of clients don't understand is that AI is pulling from every single resource, whether it's a specialist or not, whether it's a Reddit post or whether it's an influencer that's on the newest hot topic thing, right? It's pulling from everywhere. And so it doesn't always have the most accurate information. And when it comes to then a prompt standpoint, a lot of our clients are still in the very generic stage of where they can think that they can just ask a simple question and get a response back. They don't quite understand that there's a whole engineering science behind a proper prompt and what actually goes into it in order to get good information back out. And so that's where I see a lot of a misdirection or misguidance that AI provides.
Yeah, Chelsea, I'm going to piggyback right off of that, and it'll also be a nod to Carlos. So, Carlos, you produced a paper on the minimum viable product. This was well over a year ago. You shared it with our national interest group. I use that anytime I'm leading a class or talking to anyone or even giving a presentation out in the community. If AI comes up, I share that framework, because that's where I think a lot of the mistakes, people that sometimes are like, I tried it, it didn't work. They didn't know how to prompt. They didn't know the elements needed. And once people see that, the light bulb goes on. They're like, oh my gosh, that made such a difference. So I still see that, people not quite sure how to prompt the tools. But I think some of the other things that pop up, the technology is advancing so rapidly, and visuals, the companies that weren't designed to do the visual assets, they are now improving their visual output way better than even 6 months ago. But there are still little oddities. And I think it's always interesting if people are using AI internally with their business or externally. And what does that mean about their brand or the message or the impressions? AI used to have a lot of trouble with human hands. It had trouble, at least, if you ask it for an image, let's say, of people talking, and you think we're making eye contact. But if you look at the details, sometimes eyes are looking here, eyes are looking here. It's in those little tiny details that, again, they're improving, but where are you using maybe that image? I have seen firsthand AI create a word that's actually not in the dictionary. And I save these examples and I show people, I'm like, it's not perfect. Please review it. Just a few little things that I've seen along the way. But we're going to move along though, and we're going to talk a little bit about the impact that we're seeing with the clients. And I'm curious about, in your experience, where AI saves the most time for small business owners, maybe where it creates risk if people rely on it too heavily, or if you have a very specific client example that you want to share, please.
I know that a lot of my clients, when they are eager to learn or they are wanting to learn, and they come to me with a business idea and they have been in their industry for several years and they know the ins and outs of their industry, but they have this vision, but they don't know how to put it on paper. One thing that I actually work with them through is a brain dump exercise where literally I have them list everything that is running through their brain, the pros, the cons, their knowledge, where they want to expand upon, who they think their market is, who they know their competitors are, like just their baseline knowledge of everything. And what ends up happening is I'll take a full initial session or secondary session with them of where we sit down with the AI and we actually go through what could this business look like for them. And it makes it more of a reality for them to realize, oh, this is actually a business. I feel like I was just spinning my wheels, but there's actually a business here. And so it helps lay that foundation and kind of give individuals their confidence in realizing that, yes, this is truly a business idea. Now let's test it out and move forward. So it's really great on getting a lot of their thoughts out of their head and
Mm-hmm.
onto quote unquote paper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chelsea. What about you, Carlos?
And yes, everything that Chelsea said, and primarily from my experience, because I do train clients also in the use of AI a lot, drafting, researching, organizing, brainstorming, summarizing, creating marketing content. That's a big one. Preparing standard operating procedures, something that every client hates and is many times and sometimes is required for loans. If you want to duplicate your business someplace else, you want to expand, standard operating procedures were a big pain point for a lot of clients. Now is something that AI can do very easily, and I can work with my clients to get it finalized. Analyzing customer feedback, that was also a big one that now AI is using them a lot. And my favorite, turning messy ideas into structure. I mean, all of this stuff coming, just like Chelsea was saying, and putting it all together into what I would consider a business model that now is starting to make sense. Now, of course, the risk always comes when you don't verify this stuff. You can put a business idea together and you don't verify, say, okay, AI said it is good. I believe that you need to verify everything that is put into paper, especially has to do with anything with compliance, legal compliance, taxes, financial projections, low readiness, etc., market demand. Market demand is also a big one that you need to verify some of the resources that we provide to our clients, like I mentioned before, if it's world report and all of that, because that will give you the real numbers and then not just like Chelsea originally said, bringing stuff from who knows somebody's basement somewhere that AI is searching for. So that's my take on that one.
Right.
To add on to there too, I think like another thing that is a risk is a lot of my clients, they will use AI to create their logos or to create imagery and that kind of stuff. And I think we all know that there has been court cases about copywriting and trademarking. And it's an
Mm-hmm.
awareness that clients need to be made aware of, that even though their logo that they created with AI is there, it could not only be pulling from an actual trademark logo, but they can't trademark their own logo unless they do some modification. And then that gets into a really weird gray area where then they need to speak to a attorney to actually work through then the navigations of, can this logo or image be trademarked or copyrighted?
Yes, I'm hearing trust but verify and gray areas. I think that's the thing we all need to remember. There's still a lot of gray areas, always
Yeah.
keeping that human in the loop. You all reminded me of a couple of things. And one is that there was a client case that just bubbled up, and it's a local hotel owner. And I remember asking him about, his use of AI and even his team. And he said, it's interesting. He said, one of my team members told me she uses it every day and she does more administrative stuff at the hotel. And he was surprised to learn that. I really appreciated, though, that he has an environment where it's okay that there's different levels of usage depending on the roles in his business, where he was saying, because they're so client facing, client focused, the client experience. And at the beginning, he just didn't see a place for him. Why would I ever use AI? But then he recognized he needed to renovate part of the hotel. And this is something he's working on. And he said, I actually plugged in what could some of the rooms, what could the design of the rooms be? What are the supplies and the materials? What's the cost of this? From a project perspective, what's the timeline I'm looking at? Because that means part of his hotel is going to be shut down while they do this renovation. And he was really impressed. It wasn't perfect, but it saved him a lot of time. It gave him a lot of insight, gave him some different ideas that he hadn't thought of. And speaking of it giving you ideas, one or both of you mentioned this earlier. AI wants to please us. It gets to know us and it calls us by name. It feels very personal, right? And it wants to make us all think we're brilliant. And I am noticing people learning. The more people have started to adopt it, they're now questioning it or they're challenging it. Even when it says, hey, Carlos, Chelsea, what a great idea. Is what about this might not work? Where are my risks? And I think that's something where people, if they don't know to do that, they're going to rely on it all the time at telling them that it's a great idea when maybe it needs a little more thought.
Yes.
Just wanted to share that. I'm wondering what one thing you would want advisors watching, because we have a lot of people tuning into AI Day. It's advisors, it's clients, it's stakeholders, it's host institutions. But what would be one thing you would want advisors watching this panel to try in their next client conversation? Or if a client only had 30 minutes, we know how busy our clients are. If they had 30 minutes to try AI this week, what would you advise them to try first? And if you want to answer both of those questions, feel free. What would you ask an advisor to do and what would you ask a client to do?
I would tell the client or the advisor to check the assumptions of the answer, especially when it comes to drafting any type of a document. Like I said, I wrote a paper about assumptions. That's how important I think they are in artificial intelligence. And I wrote on that paper, as a matter of fact, how they can be your friends and they're going to be your enemies. And your friends is because they speed things up, like the placeholders, like I was mentioning before. And that's great because that gives structure to your idea. So it gives a really good structure. But at the same time, you have to verify, you have to find out which are those assumptions and what are you doing. So I would tell the clients every time that you do anything like that, start thinking about assumption. Make it part of your checking, brainstorming every time you see an output coming from AI.
Mm-hmm.
For me and my side of things, one thing that, and I'll say this for the general advisor side of things, testing your clients. They are going to give you documents, images, and everything else. Test them, test their knowledge, and say, without looking at your document, can you tell me this? Because we have a lot of advisors who definitely want to help and who have the caring heart. I think that's why we're all in this. At the same time, what I have learned with talking with other advisors, and I was this way for myself, where I put too much heart into it, and I really do want to help my clients, but I wasn't a grounding voice for them at different times. And so now the way that I use my grounding voice is by testing them and saying, look, if you don't know your own business, how are you going to get the funding? Because if you take this plan, for example, to a lender, they're going to do the same thing that I'm doing with you right now and test your knowledge. And if you have to go, oh, wait a minute, I have to look through my documents, or, oh, wait a minute, I got to go through my numbers, they're not going to be fully understanding of your business. They're going to see insecurities. They're going to see a lack of knowledge. And it's the knowledge that you already have, but you rely too much on AI. As an advisor, test your clients. From a client side of things, test your AI platforms. And what I mean by this is testing what AI works for you in different methods, in free versions. Because if you are thinking, oh, I really want to test this new AI, it's the new AI thing out there, take that break, take that minute, test it out, and then also do an evaluation of, do I really need this tool? Why would I need this tool? and understanding, is it a need or a want? And if it's a need, what problem will it actually solve for me?
Wow. Okay. The time has really flown as we've been here together. And I'm super excited that we could all be involved in AI Day. And I have one final question or a comment from all of us, and then we'll conclude our session. If you had to describe the advisor's role in an AI enabled world in one sentence, what would you say? I'll see, and then I'll say
That's a good question. I would say that the advisor's role should be to turn that information into judgment. Okay, grab that information, turn it into judgment. That's the way you're gonna help your small businesses make better decisions that are grounded on the information that we provide, local market context, the reality of our locality, the available resources that we have, which is a big constraint here in Alaska, and also the human accountability, who's going to be accountable for whatever is coming out of the session. So yeah, I would say that it would be turning that information into judgment to help the clients make better decisions, pretty much.
Thank you, Carlos. Chelsea?
I already hinted at this, but be the grounding voice for your client and what your client needs, not what your client wants. It's one of those things that AI, again, will support anything what the client wants to hear and how they want to hear it. But you, as the advisor, need to understand that you are there to support them in a very grounding way, from the fact check standpoint to being able to provide them actual resources that are capable to give them the proper decision-making tool, just like Carlos said.
I think we're all going to echo each other to an extent. And I think the more intelligent the technology becomes, the more valuable our humanity becomes. So AI literacy will probably become the expected skill, but the human literacy is going to become your competitive advantage, I think, for all of us.
Yeah.
So important. And so I think one thing I've heard consistently today is that AI, it can accelerate good work, sure, but it doesn't replace human judgment, relationships, strategic planning, local expertise. And the technology, it is changing quickly, but the value of trusted advisors, it's not disappearing. It's becoming even more important. And I want to thank you both for helping us explore what the future looks like. Thank you for being here. Super excited to continue this journey with you.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.